All right. Hello, hello, hello. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Heart Talk with Adelai Brown. My audio may sound a little choppy tonight. I am traveling. However, I did not want my travels to stop us from having a little heart talk. Heart Talk is our weekly empowerment session where men and women come from all over the world so that we can do hard work and grow heart equity, which we define as personal, relational, and financial wealth that we grow and cultivate through authentic living. And we define authentic living as the life that you desire to live outside of what others think you should be doing or the pressures that you feel from the society externally, right? And I believe that God put us all here to live on purpose. So I believe authentic living is purposeful living. I don't necessarily believe that it's always going to be comfortable. I don't believe that it's always going to be um uplifting, but I do believe it's always going to be fruitful. I believe that everything that you go through and have been through have a purpose. And that's why we are here this evening. We've been doing Hard Talk since September 1st, 2025. So, excuse me, September 1st, 2014. And this particular episode this evening, I guess y'all can see me a little bit because I'm driving, but this particular episode this evening is I wanted to get on because I want to talk about what happens when you heal from trying to be perfect. What happens when you heal from trying to be perfect, right? Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of us have been conditioned and we believe that if we could get it right, right? You might hear me say that and you think, "Ooh, I'm not perfect. I don't try to be perfect." And I will push back and say, "But how serious are you about trying to get it right? How serious are you when it comes to trying to offend somebody? Like how much does it bother you when maybe you don't get things um as easily as um when things don't come to you as easy as you would like for them to, right? And one thing I always talk about with Heart Talk is I like to share my experiences because I really believe that when we share, we really help others, right? And one what I've had happen to me over the last 2 weeks has been this big reminder that I'm not perfect. I can't be perfect. And none of the work that I do will be perfect. I was made to be perfectly imperfect, right? And I had a conversation with one of my family members, someone that I love dearly. And she said to me, you know what your problem is? You're just what she said no she said, you know what, you're just trying to be perfect in whatever you do. And when I heard that, the old Adelaide would have heard that statement and like been offended by it, right? I would have took it like, how you mean, and thought that that person was trying to say something to hurt my feelings or upset me. But I knew that the person I was talking to loves me dearly and wants the best for me. So my response was, if only I said, I have to find out what am I doing to give off this aura of perfection or trying to be perfect. One. And then I said, I really have to do some work because from the inside, everything that I do, I know that I am not doing it from a space of um from the inside. I know that the things that I'm doing, I'm not consciously doing it from a space of thinking that I'm perfect. It's actually the opposite. There are a lot of things that I do, and I'm doing it because I want to get it right. because in my past, I felt like I got it so wrong. So now in this season of my life, I am desperately trying to get things right. Right. And one of the things that after we had that conversation, now mind you, before I had that conversation on Friday, I had one, two, three, four, five, six others. So wow, that was my seventh conversation. I had six other conversations about me needing to relax, me needing to unwind, me needing to not be so hard on myself, me needing to not do so much, not be so busy, not mix up so much, like all the things, right? And and like I said, all of these out of the six conversations, it was four different people that I love that in one way, shape, or form, in some way, shape, or form, said to me, your drive, your pursuit of success, your pursuit of life, it is giving off the, this is how I'm interpreting, but the way that I am pursuing living my life, it is, I am doing a lot. I'm busy, I'm moving around, and they all were pretty much telling me to relax and chill out because I do have multiple companies, I do have a lot of things going on. But even with all of that, on the outside looking in, they could see where I was overworking myself, overexhausting myself, or just how we say, just doing the most. Just in Charleston, we say I was just mixing up too much, doing too much mix up. And I wouldn't say that I disagreed with them, but I would say that it did not feel good hearing that. So it forced me. It started on September 10th. And then it September 10th, and it just kind of ever since September 10th, it's just been this constant reminder that God is putting in front of me to relax, to chill out. I got your back. And what I have come to realize is that I have been living in survival mode. And I know this, I've talked about this, but I have lived in survival mode for the majority of my life. I'll say since I was about 8 years old, since my grandfather died. I've been in this fight or flight, trying to be perfect so that people could love me, accept me, approve of me, validate me, protect me, provide for me. Whatever the things were that I felt like I needed or I wanted, I realized that ever since I've been 8 years old, that I can remember, I've been in survival mode where I really didn't trust many people, if anybody, to really help me feel secure. And even in my faith, though I've been walking with Christ since I was 20 years old, and I'm now what, 42. So that, wow, that's 22 years. Even in that, it has been really hard for me to really truly settle into the promises of God when He tells me He loves me, when He tells me He cares for me, when He tells me He will carry my burdens and He will provide a way of escape, when He talks to me about the blessings that He has for me that come without repentance, right? When I hear these statements and these and I read these scriptures, and over the years, I started reading my Bible in 2003, and it's now 2025. It's going on 25 years. And it has taken me all this time, and really, honestly, losing my mother, to realize how hard I am on myself. And one of my friends said something to me and was like, you're very encouraging and uplifting to everybody else. And you always give such great advice. Why don't you just start talking to yourself in third person? Because I think that if you were to start doing that, you would find a lot more relief and a lot more peace. And I started thinking about it. And right before she said it, I was thinking, like, she told me that Sunday made a week. So she told me that, what was that? The 14th, right? And I was like, okay. It's funny because what was it, the 11th or the 12th? I felt like the Lord had just kind of dropped that on me. Start talking to yourself in third person. Talk to yourself like how you talk to your friends, your family, those that you love, your clients. How would you encourage them? That's how I want you to start encouraging yourself. And when she told me that out, no, actually, it wasn't on the 14th that she told me that. That was on the 16th, my sister's birthday. Yes, on the 16th. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this. I have to do better. I can be so kind and compassionate with everybody else. I have to be able to do that with myself. And then in a later conversation that I had, the same conversation I had Friday, I was reminded how can I be, how can I want to be so helpful to others and be there for others, and how can I be so willing to do that and be so unwilling to do that um for my, for myself or whatever. So it's, I wanted to get on tonight because I know that I'm not the only person that is dealing with overcoming the disease of perfection, right? I know I'm not the only person that has put these expectations on themselves that are unrealistic, they're unfair, but you would never expect anybody else to achieve the goals and do the things that you expect from yourself, right? Another thing that I found that I do when I'm working towards something is I will move the finish line. And that means that when, I may have a gauge of what I think is satisfactory, what I think is good enough. And as soon as I get close to reaching that gauge, now I just find something else to do, something else that needs to be improved, something else that needs to be worked on. Never really stopping to say, hey, you know what? Look at this. I reached this goal, right? It's like you're building a house and you celebrate the fact that you got the land cleared and ready for the foundation. And then you go back and celebrate the fact that, okay, you got the foundation in, and now you can start putting the home up. But I was one of those people that didn't want to celebrate nothing until the complete house is not only completed, but certified, ready to move in, everything's ready to go. And that's just not fair. That's not kind to me. I don't have that expectation for others. So why do I put that expectation on myself? And so, okay, I do heart work. I'm the heart coach. We've been doing heart talk now for 11 years. So of course I've talked about childhood trauma. Of course I've talked about struggles that I had with my parents and growing up and family members. But what I realize is just because I talked about it does not mean that the damage that was done, the barriers that I put in place are that they were removed. It's kind of like, you can go and like admire a monument, right? But it's a whole another thing to remove it, right? Like you could go to a monument a area and say the monument used to be here, right? But or you can leave the monument there so that people can come back and look at it. And I think sometimes when we talk about pain, trauma, grief, our past, we're we're looking at it and observing it, but not actually talking about it in a way. Also think that you were able to get through it. It did not take me one conversation to be the way that I am. There were years of conditioning. There were years of little Adelaide realizing that what she was saying or what she was doing was not good enough or not satisfactory for the adults around her, for the peers around her. So I came up in my mind with ways to cope with that, ways to deal with that. Well, let me try to get better. Let me try to be an overachiever. Let me try to get good grades because I learned at an early age that being smart, being good, doing those things, it seems like it helps you be a little more safe. It seems like it helps you be a little more um sturdy when we talk about dealing with issues in life. I learned as a little girl. I remember I had a cousin. She and I used to play together all the time. And I remember I got better grades in school than her. So I just realized I paid attention to the body language and the facial expressions that adults had when they asked me about my grades versus asking her about her grades. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the differences, but I also made up in my mind that I also didn't want to make the kind of grade she made because I didn't want people to respond to me the way she did. So I think as adults, we don't realize how much our nonverbal communication is communicating, right? We like to talk to kids about pouting and their body language and shrugging their shoulders, but adults still do that too. Adults still show up poorly. Adults still struggle with dealing with disappointment and setbacks, right? My husband was just telling me about how today somebody was having like acting like they wanted to have road rage with him, and he was driving his work van. And I know how he drives when he drives his work van. And I know that whoever that was doing road rage, it was just a matter of they just needed to get around him. He's not going to drive fast. He's not like he's gonna stay in the slow lane and he's gonna take his time because he in his work van and that's just what he does. And but it got me thinking on, when sometimes you show up like that. I know that I have realized that I have had to pay attention to me more closely. And I have realized that when things don't go my way, I started paying attention to like how I feel on the inside. Because like intellectually, I don't necessarily feel like something is like, I'm processing it, but I don't realize like what what messaging I'm really sending to myself when things don't go my way. Right? We have to be very careful about our self-talk and the things that we believe. So when things don't go my way, meaning when things don't go as I was expecting them to, then what I found is very seldom would I really look at the external circumstances of whatever was going on. If something did not go the way that I wanted it to or was trying to get it to, like, or was hoping for, or my expectations, I almost always immediately just chalk it up like something's wrong with me, or I messed it up, or I didn't get it right, or I could have been better. It's like this, it seems like it's humility. But what I found is it's like almost like self loathing. And it's not good. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for your mind. And I started to think about what I want to, what I talk to a 3-year old the way I talk to myself. And the answer is no. And little Adelaide is still on the inside. The little girl in me is still on the inside, needed to be loved, needed to be nurtured, needing to be reassured. I remember before my mother passed away, um, it's like we were loving on each other. It's like I was nurturing the little girl in her, and she was nurturing the little girl in me. And we were like, it was crazy because we, it, you would think that, um, you would think that, that we like stayed in our toxic tendencies, right? Codependency, um, you know, oh gosh, it's like a attachment issue. But as we started to heal and grow, we weren't triggering the little girls inside of us. We weren't triggering the little girls inside of us. We were actually using the growth that we were experiencing, the love that we were getting from each other to literally nurture the little girl inside of us. My mother knew she dropped the ball on a lot of things in my childhood. But as we got older, I could talk about those things. Like I remember vividly telling her a story. And it literally was, I feel like it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was going to 6th grade. And this is when I remember that's when I decided like I couldn't trust my mom anymore. I was 12 years old. No, I was 11, getting ready to turn 12 because I turned 12 in sixth grade. And there was just a situation that happened with my mom's boyfriend, and he told me I could drive. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but we're from the country, and I've been driving since I was little. So I asked him if I could drive the car around the corner to one of my friends' house. And my mom wasn't home, but I had already driven with her and him, and with her by myself, with him by myself. So they have been letting me drive. So I was starting to get a little more comfortable with driving by myself. So I asked him if I could drive the car around the corner. So he told me, yeah, my mom wasn't there at the time. So when I came back, my mom came outside all upset, looking angry, like as if I stole the car. And when I got out the car, I was looking at her boyfriend like, why didn't you tell her, like you told me I could drive the car? And he just sat there. I said, you told me I could drive the car. Why aren't you telling her that? Because she thinking I stole the car. And he just stood there and didn't say a word. And my mama looked at me and I was like, Mommy, he's not telling truth. He told me I could drive. I would have never took that car if he didn't tell me, yeah, like, and she like went off on me and like that. I mean, just and in that moment, I was like, wow, my mama love a man more than me. She trusts a man more than me. And I was like very heartbroken. And from that moment, like I didn't trust her no more. And I was in fifth grade going to sixth grade. And I just always believed that she would always put a man before me, that I wasn't that important. And there was nothing that I could ever really do that was good enough for her because every time I did anything, she always had a critique. She always had something I could fix and do better. Right. And, that hurt me as a kid. And even as I say that to y'all now, we talk about it, it's crazy because I did the same thing to my kids. And I'm working on getting better at that now and healing from not being so critical and heavy on them. Like just appreciating what they did, having standards, yes, but not making them feel like this exhausted list of I'll never be good enough because every time I reach one mark, here go mama, wanting wanting something else of me or wanting something else from me or whatever. So, one second, y'all. Okay. All right. So, I did this, like I said, I did the same thing to my children. Um, and I mean, I'm not saying this to, like, I'm telling you the story about my mom, and as I'm telling you the story, it's like, dang. And I did the same thing to my kids, and I know how bad it hurt. And I remember them trying and it just not being good enough for me and me wanting it perfect. And it's like I was treating them how I was treated, and it's not fair. It's not right. But it was literally like I feel like it's something we have to work through. And so that's why I titled this Healing from Perfection, because perfection, you trying to be perfect and you could be damaging like everybody in your family, right? You trying to be perfect and you really could be like hurting everybody. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just want to encourage you, like, you don't have to stay stuck there. So I told y'all a story. So I remember with my mom and I, so that we were in the kitchen one day. She was at my house and that thought came up. And usually I wouldn't bring it up because I would be like, we in a good space. I don't want her to think, I don't want her to think nothing or whatever. We're in a good space. So I'll just leave it alone. But for whatever reason, I felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, no, go ahead and say something about it. So I said something to her and I just was like, I said, you know what? I just had a thought from something that happened, and I told her the story I just told y'all. And I said, that's the moment you lost me. I said, I'm so glad we are where we are now. But I can tell you that's the moment you lost me, because in that moment, I felt like, oh, wow, I can't trust her. Oh, wow. I don't know if, um, I can't trust her. She gonna always put her man before me. And whatever. I got to do it on my own. So, what, 3 years earlier, my grandfather died. I was like that. And then here we go, 3.5 years later. Now I'm like, oh, I really can't trust my mama neither, because she put men before me. My daddy already ain't in my life, and here she go putting men before me. And it just was, it was tough, and it caused me to be even more hard. It caused me to fight even harder to be more independent. And so when I brought it up to my mom, she was like, I remember that day. She said, I often would think about it and regret it. She said, because I remember I believed him. And she said, I remember the look on your face, and I knew you were not lying to me. But he told me that you were. And because you were a child, he was adult, I went with him. She said, but I knew my child. I said, but you knew me, mommy. She was like, yeah, I know. She said, I know that now too. And I said, but it's okay. We kind of hugged each other and everything. But even though it was literally 30 years later. It was 30 years later, because that was like 93, 94. It was like 29, 30 years later that she and I was having that conversation. It was like the little me healed. It was like the little me, just what mommy just saying, you know what, I'm sorry. I remember that. And I know I did you wrong. Like, just her saying that was good. But it was like this acknowledgement, like, dang, hurting people hurt people. Like, hurting people really hurt people. And dang, you know what I mean? Like, so I just wanted to get on tonight and just like encourage you. If there's an area in your life where you're dealing with a hurt or a pain and you didn't even realize that it's something from the past, it's a very present, recent disappointment, but it's bothering you so bad because you didn't realize that this thing is directly from your past. Like, it's bothering you so bad because you didn't realize that this thing directly impacts you. Exit 243. Um, yeah. You didn't realize that this thing directly impacts you. And because of that, um, you're still gonna keep going through the stress and the struggle and the trials and things like that, because you're trying to fix what just happened recently. But you don't realize that the reason why this is such a struggle for you right now is because you have not healed from something in your past. There is some little girl like me, there's some 8-year-old, 11-year-old that was, somebody said something to hurt you, somebody did something to hurt you. And instead of, you didn't know, you didn't have the capacity. People weren't talking about their feelings back then. But you don't realize that now in your current life, that drive to be perfect is why you have high blood pressure. That drive to be perfect is why your skin won't clear up and why your hair is falling out. That drive to be perfect is why your children don't want to be around you, because they don't like feeling that pressure of always having to figure it out and always having to get it right. That drive to be perfect is actually causing you to be not so nice, not so easy to deal with, right? That drive to be perfect, it really is not working for you. It's not serving you, but this is all you know. This is all you know. But this is all you know. So, that's where you are. And I just want to encourage you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to always figure it out. You don't have to always get it right. You don't have to do any of those things. You don't have to be perfect. But what you do need to do is be honest with yourself. What you do need to do is take a moment, look in the mirror, and just take some deep breaths, because what happened was, after God took 2 weeks to get people to come to me and say, you need to relax, you need to chill out, you need to calm down. I think about how people are acting or behaving when I tell them that, right? I think about how people are acting or behaving, like when I'm telling them, hey, you need to chill out. Hey, you need to calm down. Hey, you need to, you know, do whatever. It's usually because they all over the place, right? It's usually because they are just doing the most and making everybody with them uncomfortable, right? That's usually when that is happening. And so if people are responding to me like that, I had to stop and take a moment and say, wow, I might be hard to deal with. I might be tough to deal with. And it's not even so much I am from the inside, I'm like, that's not my intention. And so that's when the Lord really started dealing with me. Like, yeah, you really gotta chill out. You gotta really, Matthew 11:28 through 30, read it. He talks about, Jesus says, take my yoke upon you. Give me your burdens, and I'll give you mine. He said, because my burden is easy and my yoke is light. And that's one of my favorite scriptures. And I quote it, but the Lord was like, no, I need you to go back and live it, right? He talks about, draw unto me and I will tell you great and mighty things you did not know. He tells us in Jeremiah 33, right? He's Jeremiah 29:13. He talks about what he would do when you come to him. Everybody like to talk about Jeremiah 29:11, but Jeremiah 29:13, he said, draw unto me like what your like I'll show you what I can do for you when you give me your whole heart. And I realized, as long as I was trying to be perfect, I could not give the Lord my whole heart, because I have to be perfect. I can't. I gotta be perfect. That's all done in my will, not in His will. So in order for me to be able to, like, in order for me to be able to like do the things that I need to do, I gotta relax and rest. I was moving so independently, so aggressively, because deep down there's a piece of me, there's a part of me that just feels like the Lord is not paying me any attention. It's like, clearly I'm crying out. It's like, you don't hear me. Life is still hard. Things still messing up. And the Lord showed me this week what's happening. A lot of things going on is because you're expecting it. You're still in survival mode, Adelaide. You're still in fight or flight. And because of that, you're going to keep experiencing these challenges and these struggles and things like that, because you're still in fight or flight. You're still in survival mode. And you got to let that go. You have to let it go. And this week, these last 2 weeks have been about that. I am growing my business. Businesses. I literally got things going on in all of my businesses. God is really moving. God is doing things like only He can, and I am just like honored. I really am honored, but I also realize things things happen, things happen, right? I realize that things happen for a reason. I realized, like, today I was leaving out to get on the road. I had to go. I'm doing some work out in the field today, as you can see. Like, I'm still working. I'm almost done. Still driving, so that's what my audio sounds like that. But I was doing some work out in the field today, and before I left, my son put all my things in the car for me and stuff like that. And like, before I left, he we couldn't find the keys. He had the keys, and he didn't lock them in the car. And so we were looking for the keys, and it took a while. And I just was like, "Well, God, you know what? I guess you're saving me from something. You're protecting me from something." And so, um, I'm thankful. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you, right? Like I'm thankful. Like it's just all about slowing down. Like when you slow down, you speed up. When you rest, you get more things done. It's like when you trust God in the rest, you will get three, four times as much done, um, because you've done that, you know. And I just wanted to encourage you with that. I am getting ready to get off because I need to focus. I'm in a spot where I'm not as familiar, but our heart check for the week is, where are you trying to be perfect? Let me ask a better question, because you might be like me and be like, I'm not trying to be perfect. What areas of your life are utterly wearing you out? You are tired. You are exhausted. You are feeling burnout. Is it in your career? Is it with your health? Is it with your romantic relationship or the lack thereof? Is it with family, friends? Is it, a dream you've been wanting to pursue and it just seems like it won't come to pass? What is it? Let me know. Put it in the comments, inbox me, DM me. If you're not already, follow me on Instagram, Heart Coach Talk, Facebook, Heart Coach Talk, or the Heart Connections, TikTok, Heart Coach Talk 1. You can email me, heartcoachtalk at Gmail. Um, uh, oh shoot. So all of the things, let's stay connected. But I do want to hear from y'all. When I see people out, I get a lot of feedback, but I want y'all to tell me, what do you think? Have you struggled with perfection? um what is, an area of your life that you would like to feel like you could rest or you relax, but you really struggle in that area? Is it your finances, right? Is it in parenting? I know a lot of us parents are really hard on ourselves. We're trying to get it right when it comes to our kids, and that trying to get it right, man, I found that is so linked to survival. That is so linked to a scarcity and poverty mindset, and God wants us delivered from that, right? So you think about it, journal about it, let us know, and we will continue to have these conversations. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for being with me. Thank you for being with me in the many forms of Heart Talk. This is not the first time I've done Heart Talk on Interstate 20. Um, and I'm just so thankful for y'all. I love y'all very much. Remember, we're here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We have prayer every Wednesday at 5 a.m. And then our podcast, new episode every Thursday at 1 p.m. on the podcast platforms, and every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube. Okay? All right. Well, I love you guys very much. Remember, this is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out. When you heal your heart, you transform your life. And let's transform the world together.